If you look at history, if you study history broadly, everyone was a slave. Everyone. We are all descended from slaves.
Yeah.
Well, all of us.
Yeah.
It's just a question of when. What advantages did my color of my skin give me? Well, if we keep talking about it nonstop, it will never go away.
Apartheid is a hell of a drug. Okay, before I drag Elon Musk back to Johannesburg, we all know Don Lemon's deal with Musk went down like my GPA after I found that cool bodega in college. It was just hours after the former CNN anchor's interview with Musk for the debut episode of his new show, which was part of his deal with X. Now, according to Lemon, Elon publicly encouraged me to join X with a new show, saying I would have his full support. He later added that he took Musk at his word and he was, quote, interested in working directly with diverse voices.
But what the evidence shows is that that's not what's actually in practice.
And there does seem to be some fire behind that smoke. Musk posted last year, it'd be great to have Rachel Maddow, Don Lemon, and others on the left put their shows on this platform. No exclusivity or legal docs required. You will receive our full support. The digital town square is for all.
Leave that as a false statement you're making.
In another post, Musk directly appealed to Lemon. Have you considered doing your show on this platform? Maybe worth a try. Audience is much bigger.
There's no evidence of that.
I believe there is.
There's no evidence of that, Elon. What is the evidence?
Now that's interesting. Why would a guy who has systematically amplified far-right voices all of a sudden be courting big-name voices from the left? I mean, he literally just posted this. Under a Photoshop picture of Biden giving him a medal, even though the guy in the picture was misidentified and all the charges were dropped. It was so wrong, his own app had to give readers more context, but it's still up, so this ain't about truth or both sides. Could it be that he's trying to buy himself a pass to amplify even more far-right voices? I can see the thinking, Don. Elon has a perception problem on X. Actually, he has an actual problem on X. Black people was trending a week ago and the whole thing read like a white sheet message board. Leftists, centrists, and people with good sense are fleeing the platform. He gonna throw a bag at somebody to change that perception, somebody he could point to. What about me? I like bags, and that's what this was. It was no different than the black people Fox News drags out or the liberals that are there just to get shouted down. But not you, Jessica Tarloff. She is about that life.
This was another day where it was readily apparent that James Comer and the Republicans are not ready for prime time, let alone 10 a.m., which is when everyone stopped paying attention to this.
Now, Lemon said after the fact, apparently free speech absolutism doesn't apply when it comes to questions about him from people like me. Oh, you think? You mean the guy who banned Liam Neeson because he hurt his feelings isn't keeping it 100 when it comes to free speech? You think? Now, these are questions you ask before you take the deal, unless, of course, you don't care and you're just willing to be his token leftist. Now that I got that out the way, Elon Musk, let me holler at you a minute, because you did say a couple things that needed some clarification. And just for the sake of this, I'm gonna pretend like your company isn't battling lawsuits for racial discrimination.
California's suing Tesla, accusing the electric car maker of operating a racially segregated workplace at its factory in the San Francisco Bay Area.
We just want to be just treated and seen as equal human beings.
But yet, here you are.
You think that society blames everything on racism now?
It blames a lot of things on it, and yeah.
You think that's unfair?
Yeah.
Why?
I think we should not make this a constant subject. I think we need to move on. I think we should treat people like people.
You think we don't want to just move on? You think we hit the streets to protest just for exercise? If you treated people like people, you wouldn't be dealing with Owen Diaz saying,
We just want to be just treated and seen as equal human beings.
You don't agree that this country was founded on racism and founded on slavery and in many ways inequities that still continue on to this day?
I think every country at that time, and I think even today, was extremely racist. Every country.
okay, first of all, we're not talking about every country. That was a nice try. But let me hear that one more time.
I think every country at that time, and I think even today, was extremely racist. Every country.
Every country at that time and even today is extremely racist? Well, first of all, that's great self-awareness. But didn't you just say...
I think we should not make this a constant subject. I think we need to move on.
Make it make sense.
Obviously, slavery was present in about half of this country, and was not present in the North. There was racism for sure, but I think we want to look to the future rather than the past.
Look to the future? You just said even today. You got discrimination lawsuits today. The X timeline is an antebellum fireside chat today.
Because in fact, if you look at history, if you study history broadly, everyone was a slave. Everyone.
Yes. Well, not everyone was a slave.
No,
but
everyone was a slave.
Okay, but
we are all descended from slaves.
Challenge accepted. Give me another example where the slave masters were compensated, but the slaves weren't. Oh, what's that? Oh, looks like we got compensation for atrocities in other countries too. Try again.
We are all descended from slaves.
yeah. Well,
All of us.
yeah.
It's just a question of when. Was it more recent or less recent?
I'll take more recent for 400, please.
Was it more recent or less recent? That's it.
Right.
But what future do we want?
Is
this something we want to make a part of our constant dialogue forever, or do we want to say, like, let's just move on and treat everyone, according to just who they are as an individual?
Hey, Owen, you up again?
We just want to be just treated and seen as equal human beings.
According to just who they are as an individual.
I agree with you with that. That's the ideal. But what the evidence shows is that that's not what's actually in practice.
I think we're doing better than anywhere else.
How do you think we got to this point where we're doing better than everywhere else? It's just Frederick Douglass and Nat Turner and Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Marcus Garvey, W.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, MLK, Malcolm, and Fred Hampton. They all just laid down and waited for you to slowly restore their rights out of the goodness of your own hearts. That's how we got here, right?
But that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean a lot to a whole lot of people who aren't able to take advantage of the opportunities that you were able to take advantage of, simply because of the color of your skin.
What advantages did my color of my skin give me?
Well, there's an ease that you have in society that many people of color don't. You were able to come to this country voluntarily. There are many people who were not able to come to the country voluntarily. There are people who came here as
very difficult
slaves.
for me to come here.
And there is a legacy of slavery that still continues on. There's a legacy of racism that still continues on in this country. That's undeniable.
Well, if we keep talking about it nonstop, it will never go away.
Ah, that's right. Racism is like that schoolyard bully. You just have to ignore, and eventually racism will get bored and pick on a different color. Why didn't we think of that?
When the census is done, the census is based on all people in an area, whether they are citizens or not. So if there are a concentration of people who came here illegally in a particular state or in a particular state, that state will actually then get an increased number of House seats. So the House seat apportionment is proportionate to the number of people, not the number of citizens. So the illegals overwhelmingly go to places like California, New York, and if you just look at the math, if you look at the apportionment with and without illegals, I believe California would lose. I believe the blue state, there would be a net loss of blue states of approximately 20 seats in the House. This also applies to the electoral college. So you say, like, well, this also applies to electing the president, because the electoral votes are also done by apportionment the same way that House seats are done.
But the reason, Elon, the electoral college is in place is to balance that, is so that doesn't happen. So what you're saying about it is the exact opposite of the reason why the electoral college is there. The electoral college at this point, in our history, gives people who are in smaller states and red states much more of an influence over our elections than people who are in blue states, and the majority of the people in this country. That's what the electoral college does. It actually does the exact opposite of what you're saying. It protects people who are in smaller states and protects people who are in red states.
Well,
so Democrats are flooding the country with illegals to add population and therefore seats and electors to gain an advantage in a system that already favors Republicans, because votes in less populous states, which skew right, count more, which is why George W. won the 2000 election with 47.8% of the vote, and Trump won in 2016 with just over 46% of the vote. So that's the case you're making, is the already jacked up system which favors us might not favor us as much if they flood the country with illegals, which I think they're doing intentionally. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I just wouldn't have said nothing. I just wouldn't have said nothing. Hey, you got a nice little scam going on over there. No, keep it low. Keep it low. You know, that's like me complaining to my wife if we did the exact same job and I got paid more than she did. You know, they take all these taxes out my check. They need to do something about this. This ain't right. Moreover, if this was the whole objective, then why is it that Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Florida's Ron DeSantis, according to Trump, ship migrants to New York and California? That seems like hustling backwards to me.
Let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right, that's been a target of yours lately on X. There was a repost of Ben Shapiro that you claim that DEI is killing people. Specifically, you point to medicine. You claim that DEI programs are putting people at risk. Do you really believe this to be true, and what evidence do you have to support it?
what I was referring to there was that if we lower the standards.
Wait, play that one more time.
What I was referring to there was that if we lower the standards.
Tell me you're racist without telling me you're racist. The question was about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the first thing out of his mouth is about lowering standards. Now why would it lower standards? It only does if you think black people aren't capable and therefore need the standards to be lowered. No hiring bias, no nepotism. It couldn't possibly be that, I don't know, historically white professions from the days when we literally weren't allowed to do them kind of discourages black people from pursuing them. Or the investment to build a pipeline to these professions, which already exists in white spaces, which when done correctly means you have a larger talent pool to choose from and therefore even better applicants across the board. But who wants to do all of that? Let's just keep it white. They lowering the standards. They took our jobs.
If the standards for passing medical exams and becoming a doctor or especially something like a surgeon, if the standards are lowered, then the probability that the surgeon will make a mistake is higher. They're making mistakes in their exam. They may make mistakes with people, and that may result in people dying.
And they've even gone to hypotheticals to make their imaginary point. Who does that? Now I get it.
You post a lot of controversial stuff. Is that considered blowing off steam?
Well, I guess I do enjoy using the platform.
So you do a lot of it at night, like late at night. So when you're doing this, are you sober when you do it?
Almost
Are
always,
you
yes.
under the influence of anything?
No, I don't drink. I don't really. No.
And you know what the scary thing is? I believe him.